Hi Divisha, good evening.
Hi ma'am, I'm not able to switch on my video.
Just hold on. Divisha, can you check now? Are you able to turn your camera video on?
Not as yet.
Okay, check now once, please. Yes. We'll just wait for another 2 minutes in case other students are joining. Okay. Just 2 minutes, 2 more minutes, and then we'll start. Divisha. Hope it's okay. Hi Divisha. Firstly, congratulations on an order for you. How excited are you?
Pretty excited because law school has started, so the excitement is turning into a lot of hectic work schedules. So yeah, but I'm enjoying it as of now.
And how are your parents' reaction to your ranks and the entire excitement about the ranks, the college of your choice? How's it going at home?
So it's going on really great. My parents are super excited, but more than them, my sister's really happy about it. So it's been really nice to see everyone happy, proud. It's a really great feeling.
Okay, that's wonderful. So, Divisha, was law always a plan?
No, first UPSC, then it was medical, and then reality struck, and then I chose law in grade 10th, I think.
In grade 10 is when you decided that you wanted to pursue law.
Yeah, so in and around grade 10, I think, when we were all, supposed to choose our streams for 11th and 12th, I did a little bit of, you know, combinations and permutations as to what subjects I like and what career option would suit me the most.
Right. And that is how you figured law suits the best.
Yes, so I did have a keen eye for the social sciences, and other than that, the subject in general interested me. So yes, I did go ahead with law then.
Was there any point of inspiration for you, or any person that you are inspired by to take up law?
So when I chose law, at that point, no, not really. But during my preparation, I think there were a few people around me, family, friends who were in the field, who I thought, like I saw their work, and I was sure of my decision then that yeah, I would want to do law seeing that.
Okay, wonderful. And how difficult? So you belonged from which board in your 12th standard?
ISC.
ISC. And how difficult or how easy was it for you to manage school as well as your prep?
So I had taken up science in grade 11 and 12. So along with that, ISC also had a few attendance issues. So it was a little difficult initially in grade 11, but then I was able to prioritize and made a timetable as to when I would want to do what. So then I was able to follow it, not 100%, but yeah, somewhat.
Okay. And when would you say you actually started your preparation towards your law journey?
So I've been with IMS for 2 years. So grade 11 was more of attending lectures, knowing the concepts better, taking a mock a week, maybe one in 2 weeks. Grade 12 is when it really kicked in that, okay, it's high time I start working, because if I don't get a good law college, my options will become limited. They won't disappear, but they will be limited. And I think it was during the Diwali vacations of grade 12, I really got onto it that, what, now I need to study, I need to put my 100% in. And that's when, I became very serious with stuff.
So it was post your Diwali break,
yeah,
when reality struck in.
Yeah,
you really kicked into mode then.
Yes.
Right. And how would you describe your prep journey once you realize that you need to start preparing for it seriously now?
So at that point of time, I used to hate GK because I used to score terribly. So that's when I realized that just because I'm not scoring well in it doesn't mean I don't do it. So that's when I started, going through a few more sources. I would read the newspaper way more regularly. Other than that, mocks. I started taking more mocks. The consistency improved. Then the other thing was classes, weekly catch-ups. I would be regular to them, ensure I'm making notes. Again, GK was a part of my preparation primarily.
So apart from your AILET, right, which other examinations did you appear for or prepare for?
So along with AILET, I took my LSAT, CLAT, and SLAT.
Okay. And how would you say were the level of difficulty different for each examination, and how was what was the difference that you felt when it came to preparation for each of these examinations, or your approach towards these examinations?
So the first exam I took in this academic year was LSAT, because in that you don't have maths, you don't have general knowledge, you don't have legal aptitude. It's just English, logical reasoning, and analytical reasoning. And their way of asking questions is also a little different, I would say. It's critical reasoning. So there's nothing you can rote learn. And a lot of people who do not like doing maths are at an advantage here because it does not count for anything. So LSAT, I felt focused more on our reasoning abilities as such. When it comes to CLAT, I think that's usually one of the biggest exams and everyone wants to do well in it. For CLAT, it was more of a holistic thing. You had GK, you had maths, you had English, you had legal, you had everything. So honestly, I put in a lot more effort for CLAT than I did for LSAT. But for CLAT, it was an effort spread over those 2 years. Whereas for LSAT, it was only, the month before the exam.
Right.
And SLAT was something that was more of a, I don't know what to call it. It was a very general exam. It tested you on all parts. But again, GK was not just current affairs. They asked us questions from our 10th grade history and geography textbooks. Right. And also no negative marking. So that also sufficiently changed my approach towards the exam. Right.
So how exactly did negative marking change approach for your A-level paper?
So if I were to compare it with an exam that didn't have negative marking like SLAT, I attempted all the questions.
Right.
Even if I didn't know the answer, I would think the best educated guess I could think of was the answer. But for AILET, personally for me, I avoided, making guesses, even if they were educated ones, because
Right.
that 0.25 often ends up costing you your seat at a good national or
Good national
university.
college. Agreed, right. So, and within the subjects that you've been studying for your preparation, which was the one that you found the most difficult?
General knowledge, current affairs.
And
it was a tough one.
That's where you struggled the most.
Yeah.
And what kind of tricks and strategies did you take in to help yourself get better at your JK?
So I think revision counts for a lot in current affairs because it's vast. There are hundreds of news items every day. You can't go through all of them. So in that's where weekly catch-ups really help. I was able to make notes, and I would refer to GK today as well on a daily basis, and reading the newspaper. So newspapers didn't only help me in GK, but also helped me in English, critical reasoning, and stuff like that. Right. And like I said, revision. So I would catch hold of my sister and I would be like, okay, now take up this stuff for me. I would catch hold of my friends. Okay, you need to help me with this now. Because even they were preparing for entrance exams, not law related, but ones that included GK.
So you kind of formed like a study group for your GK.
Yeah, you can say that. And I had
helping motivating each other towards preparation.
And I think that's very important, especially when you're taking an exam with thousands of kids, and demotivation is something that strikes very often.
Right. What about the legal reasoning part? How different it was from your CLAT or other prep, and bringing it a new subject altogether, right? You've done math, you've done English before as a part of your school studies subject, yes. Right? Legal reasoning was comparatively a newer subject for you. How did you manage that? How did you tackle that subject?
So up until the CLAT paper pattern change happened, legal reasoning was pretty uniform across all the exams I was planning to take. So except in the levels of difficulty. So preparation was the same. I would go through, the basic law of torts, criminal law, the basics of it. So I know what I'm planning to study now. But when the paper pattern change happened, I realized that I needed to have a more holistic approach for CLAT. And for AILET, though it was a holistic approach, usually AILET is stereotyped into having a very difficult legal section. So for AILET, I did try, getting into the depths. Past papers helped a lot with AILET, but I guess we were the lucky batch and we had a sufficiently easy legal reasoning.
That's wonderful. And when it comes to, once you started putting in efforts post your Diwali break, what was the daily schedule that you followed for your best prep? With, taking into account you have your 12th standard preparation also, and with dedicated amount that was required for class.
So so soon after Diwali vacations, I didn't want to neglect my 12th grade boards. And I was pretty clear on it right from the beginning. I didn't want to get like an amazing rank in AILET or CLAT and then completely have a very weird percentage in 12th. So post the Diwali vacation, my schedule was divided into 60% of the time for AILET and CLAT and 40% of it for my board exams. But during the Diwali, during the Christmas vacations, that's when I put in a lot of effort for my board exams. So post that, I could just concentrate on my entrance exams.
And closer to your exams, what were your daily schedules like?
So closer to the board exams, as soon as I got to know there are no exams, I pushed my textbooks aside and I'm like, okay, now it's just going to be law entrance test. So I prefer starting in the night. So I would wake up around like really late. Let's not get into the time aspect of it. I would go through the newspaper then. And it was in the afternoon, I would start reading and, revising. And at around 6 o'clock, I would take a mock exam. So they usually last for 1.5 hours or 2 hours. And I would be done. And in the night, I would sit and correct it. And go through GK today in the night then.
Right. So you started your day off with your GK and you ended your day with GK.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so
pretty
and
much.
In the middle is the time you spend for your other subject. Right?
Yes.
Taking a mock usually in the evening.
Yes, which I changed closer towards the examination because I wanted to get used to the timing I actually have
Of
to
the
take the
examination.
exam.
Right.
Yes.
So, and when it comes to taking the mock, the first mock that you took, how was the experience for you?
So first mock, like in the beginning of 11th grade was pretty disastrous. I was demotivated. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to become a lawyer. But slowly improvements came in. And once I was closer to the examination dates, I had figured out a strategy that was working for me. I would break my sections and I would time myself. And closer to the examinations, I would score not exceptionally well, but a decent score. And then there were days where I just used to have like really dismal scores and it would be demotivating.
And how did you cope up with this demotivation of yours?
So AILET was dismal all the time, to be very honest. The first AILET exam I ever took was the AILET 2020 paper, and I had a 44 or something out of 150, if I'm not
150.
wrong,
150.
150. And I was really scared. Okay, you know what? NLU Delhi is not going to happen with this score. And then I had to change my strategy quite a bit. I had to go through a lot of trial and error and a lot of my plan sessions, to be honest. They really help. Just for the students out there, it really helps. And then the score started increasing. I reached a 60, then a 65, and a 70. But then I reached a stagnant point at 70.
Right.
And that's
And
where
how did you break that glass ceiling of being at 70?
So that glass ceiling was current affairs again, as always. So with that, I just realized that what I'm studying for CLAT, although it's pretty similar to what I'm studying for AILET, the method of questioning is different. In CLAT, they were going into the details and the history, whereas in AILET, it was like a to-the-point question.
Right.
So that's where I changed my strategy a little. I focused. So GK today has 50 questions in a month and stuff like that. And I started going through that and it really helped along with fact bites from IMS because that's what we need for AILET, I feel.
Right. So exposing yourself more towards the current affairs news, facing more questions, facing more news articles is something that worked in your favor.
Yes, it did. Although it was very taxing, but I think it all worked out in the end.
It all worked out in the end. It definitely broke that glass ceiling through. And
yeah.
Right. Wonderful. What was that one point wherein you thought that, yes, I can get into this law school, wherein you've realized that you've reached the potential best? Like after how much of the efforts that you put in is when you realize you've reached your exact potential?
The day the merit list came out. Not before
Till that time, we were really not sure on what was happening.
I was really not sure. I was worried, okay, there are 47 seats for the general category and close to 15, 16,000 people appearing. The odds are really bad. And after the CLAT result, I was a little demotivated. And so that negativity carried around. So it was only the day the merit list came out and the first list came out, I was like, okay, you know what, I'm done and dusted with this now.
Okay. And when it comes to, you spoke about being demotivated at times because your scores were not reflecting as according to the inputs that you did.
Yep.
What helped you come out of that zone of, giving up on law that you earlier said?
So, first, reviewing my mocks. When you know where you're making an error, you feel you can improve upon it, and then you can expect, okay, I can do better in this. So that was one of the main things for me was that I need to review my mocks in order to know where I'm losing out on. Then it was my planned sessions. I had a few sessions with a mentor. I had a session with you, Anushri ma'am, sir, and they helped me, comb through my strategy to see if there are any nitty-gritties that I need to solve. And other than that, family and friends really helped me at that point of time. They were my constant motivators, and they would provide me with free therapy sessions.
Wonderful. Definitely. Of course, in the times of this COVID where we are stuck online, how difficult was that for you? And did you face any COVID-related issues at home or with yourself?
So I had contracted COVID in September last year, and I didn't really have any issues when I had the virus. It was post that, when a lot of psychological things started kicking into me, like, oh, my health is in a really bad state. Uh, so till September to the Diwali holidays, I wasn't able to concentrate on much because there was this constant thing in the back of my mind, what, I'm not well, something or
Right.
the other. So a psychological factor kicked in at that time. But other than that, I think online has been pretty great for me. Other than the human interaction we need, I think I'm really
There's
glad that I
not
had
much
the,
of a
yeah,
difference that affected your preparation.
yeah, the facilities were great. We were getting our mocks delivered home. They
Right.
were on the portal, and it was pretty great that way.
Wonderful. And coming to the subjects, apart from your GK prep, how else did you prep? So with maths, there's always a notion that you're not very comfortable with maths. How did you tackle maths?
So I love maths. So maths was actually a stress buster for me during the exam. So I would take a heavy section on, like I would do legal, and then I would switch to maths because it would give me some time off from heavy reading and also give me a break because maths was something I knew I was good at. So I used the methods, formula I used to use in school. So my advice for maths would be just know your formulae sufficiently well and know how to substitute them. In AILET, I've seen that there's a consistent pattern in the maths section. You will have one pipes and cistern question always. You'll have one speed distance time
Right.
question always. So even that helped me a little going through past year papers, remembering the formulae correctly and knowing what to substitute in there.
And how many mocks helped you feel prepared for these examinations that you took?
So with mocks, I feel, there's nothing like, so you will always feel you're not doing enough when it comes to mocks. But one thing I've realized is don't burn yourself out with too many mocks. You'll just get bored of the paper pattern, bored of the paper. So I think when you're closer to the exam, say 2 months away from the exam, in a week, I would suggest taking four mocks because if you're just taking mocks and you don't have the time to analyze them correctly, I don't think there's any point in taking those
They
mocks.
don't serve a purpose then.
They don't serve a purpose. Correct.
Correct. Right. And coming to the day of examination, what were your thoughts pre and post the examination?
So while getting into the examination center, the first thing I noticed is, okay, the number of people compared to CLAT are pretty low here because I had the same center. So honestly, I don't know why that was something that, calmed me down. Like, okay, the number of people are less over here. Other than that, as we got into the examination room, everyone was doing their own thing. We were not talking. COVID protocols were in place. So we sat, we got our papers, and honestly, a lot of people were surprised about the paper. Like, okay, is that the paper we are supposed to attempt? And you could see that in the classroom actually. And post that, when I was done with the exam, I came down and I'm like, I think it was okay. I don't know, but yeah, it seemed to be decent enough. And yeah, that's it. Then I came back and just binged watched because I was done with all this, like really done with all this.
Right. And while giving your paper, what was one difficulty that you faced?
The masks. So I had practiced wearing a mask and writing an examination, but when you're there in that whole situation and that whole mood, it does get a little difficult to feel breathless. And other than that, was okay. Like I didn't make an error marking the bubble on the OMR sheet, so I was flabbergasted for a second or so. But then I realized, you know what, I don't need to mess the paper ahead of me. I've lost these marks. I just need to focus on something now.
All right. And what was your strategy when it came to taking that examination?
So strategy was something one of my friends, cousins helped me with because I was really bad at it. So it was a lot of trial and error. And the strategy I finally went ahead with was doing GK first,
Okay.
finishing legal GK, doing a few questions of the legal aptitude apart from the legal GK, completing analytical reasoning in the logical reasoning section,
Right.
doing my English without the comprehension, and finally doing maths. And if I would get time, I would attempt the reading comprehension section. because I noticed across the mocks I had taken, my accuracy with the comprehension section wasn't so great compared to the other sections.
Okay.
So,
But
sorry.
coming down to this particular strategy, was it something that was pre-decided, or did you go across trying different strategies first?
So it was not pre-decided. One of my cousins helped me out with it actually, and it was something that I think suits to everyone's personal needs. For me, maths was a stress buster, so I decided to do it before English,
Correct.
the comprehension section.
Mhm.
For some people, it's really not, so they prefer doing it in the end. For some people, they prefer finishing legal before, but for me, I decided to go ahead with GK.
So you'd say that one strategy does not really work for everyone. You need to go through a lot of trials and error.
Yeah,
to
100%.
find the strategy that exactly works for you.
100%.
Right?
Yeah,
What
there's no
probably works the
umbrella
best for you may
strategy.
not work in the same way for another person.
Yeah, 100%. We all build differently. We all have different strengths and weaknesses. So there can't be an umbrella strategy.
Right. And any regrets that you would have when it came to your preparation journey? Something you would go back and change about it?
You know, one of the only regrets I have is not reading the newspaper way before the Diwali vacations, actually.
Early enough.
Early enough, yeah. So I don't know if I lost from it, but I'm sure if I would have done it, I would have gained significantly.
Right. So it's important that you are in touch with your current affairs.
Yeah, current
along the way.
affairs. You're
It's
able
something
to
that you
read
would
stuff.
change.
Yeah,
Right.
100%. I would
And
suggest
something during the test that you would go back and change.
not circling that wrong answer that cost me a precious 1.25 marks.
Wow. And the panic that it added to.
The panic was pretty bad actually. More than, the regret, it was the panic that added to it.
With that blunder, which you call it, made in the examination, I'm sure that panic must have been right there to start. How did you control or get control over your emotions? Because this is something a lot of students do face while taking the examination. They mark a question wrong, or they do not know the answer that they thought they would, and then that affects the rest of the paper. How did you cope up with that panic attack?
So as soon as I marked the wrong answer, a few expletives came to my mind. And then I'm like, okay, I know the next three answers. That's good. I should just focus on this. If I lose my focus here, I might mark two other answers incorrectly, and that will cost me heavily. So I took a sip of water and then I just went ahead with it.
Wonderful. If coming to now, college has started for you?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. How's it going along? How are you finding classes?
Classes are really good, and the hard work is worth it. The pedagogy, the methodology of NLU Delhi is really something that I had not expected. It's phenomenal. You really feel that you've reached somewhere. The teachers are so good. They're well qualified. You feel you are in a pool of people who have high intellectual capacity, and it sometimes really intimidates you. I won't lie. So it's a great feeling. Ma'am, you're on mute.
Overall, has it been a fun experience? Has it been stressful for you?
I would say it's a 70% fun and a 30% stressful. We have great seniors, committees, clubs, class coordinators. It's all just amazing as of now. It will take a little time to adjust to the whole situation, and I can't wait to go on campus, but as of now, it's going on really well.
That's wonderful. Hopefully you do have the chance to go to a campus soon enough, right?
Yes.
To enjoy the campus life that you're currently missing out because of the online classes that are going on, right?
Truly.
When it comes to one advice that you want to give your peers or your juniors here right now?
Advice would be, think of a strategy for yourself. Don't go by a strategy someone else has told you is working for them and then expect it to work out for you exactly the way it's worked out for them. And initially, if you're not scoring above 75, 80, don't lose heart. We've all been there. We've all scored in the 40s, 30s, 50s. It's just how you build on it. And again, don't expect an umbrella strategy to work out for you, and be consistent in attending classes. That really helps. Even if you're not studying every day for your 11th grade or your not first half of 12th grade, don't make that mistake.
Don't
First
mind.
few months of the 12th grade,
Mhm.
attend classes. It's 4 hours a week. I think we can all remove that time.
Right. So being consistent is something that will
Yeah.
definitely help you in the longer run when it comes to these
100%.
entrance tests, right?
100%.
Also, I have a few students asking me how did you cope up with a lot of uh, questions like reading a newspaper, when you've not read a newspaper at all, right? How did that help you?
So for me personally, I used to read the newspaper every day from 6th grade to 8th grade. Then in 9th grade, I got my phone, and the newspapers were never looked at ever again till CLAT preparation. Then AILET preparation started. So initially, it's a little daunting. Don't expect yourself to read the whole newspaper in the first 1 month. Keep on increasing your articles sufficiently. And in the newspaper also, know what section you want to read. Like I would personally advise you all to read the editorials, the international section, and the news about India in general. If you don't get into the regional section of the news, it's okay for the first few months because you're getting used to it. But then slowly try building on your capacity.
And overall, how has IMS played a role towards your preparation? If you could throw some light on that for us.
So IMS was actually, like what we call the guiding light. It helped in lectures, mocks, everything. One specific aspect of IMS I really like, and I've mentioned it quite a few times, is the My Plan sessions and the weekly current affair catch-ups. So even if you've not read the newspaper for say 4 days out of the 7 days, IMS will help you cover them up with your current affairs catch-up. And the My Plan sessions help you understand your personal needs and will allow you to, speak to your mentors freely, not just related to things about AILET or CLAT, just you're not feeling motivated enough to do something, or you need advice with other things like should I apply to a private university, which exam should I take. It really helps.
Okay, that's great to know. Right. I have a few students who definitely want to ask you questions. So if you're open to taking them on,
Sure.
I'll start throwing them at you. Right. The
Sure.
first one's asking you, how many hours a day did you spend on GK? I think this is going to be one of the most repeated questions about how many hours do you put in for a particular subject.
So I believe quality over quantity. So in a day, I would not do like crazy 2 hours, 3 hours of GK. It's boring. Come on, let's deal with it. It's boring when it's not related to stuff you're interested in. So I would read, say, 35 minutes reading the newspaper and 25 minutes going through GK today. And GK today also, while the TV is on, you're just scrolling through, but you're able to grasp the information. So I was able to do that, but it depends on person to person.
Right. Then we have a student asking, do you take down notes while studying reading your newspapers or studying for your GK?
No, not really. While reading the newspaper, that would be really tedious. But if you're able to do it, that's great. I would take notes during the catch-up sessions, to be honest, because in that we would cover paragraph-based questions, one-liners, and all of that. So that helped a lot. And
the notes help in the longer run to revise.
Yeah,
that's
because you can't go through PPTs again and again. You can't open the Zoom links and stuff like that all the time.
And how would you go about making the notes, considering that there is say a huge article on a particular news, right? How would you strategize on what was important from your exam point of view?
So when we are when talking about paragraph based questions, first I would just write one line about the whole gist of it. So there is in Israeli and Indian, I don't know, memorandum of understanding on agriculture. That's the gist of it. And then the details of it, who's the Israeli ambassador to India and stuff like that. So just one line on the main paragraph, 1 or 2 lines, and then you start listing down the particulars basically.
Then there is a question on what were your sources for GK?
GK Today, The Hindu, and social media to a certain extent. Other than that, Fact Bites helped with AILET preparation.
IMS Fact Bites and your weekly current affairs catch-up is something that helped you.
Yeah.
Students asking, do you need to memorize GK and how do you do that?
So we are lucky that way. CLAT and AILET give you options. So you don't need to memorize them, but if you've read them 2 or 3 times, they automatically get registered in your brain. And when you see the options again, they're like, oh, okay, I know this is the answer. So obviously you can't memorize all of GK. It's just that it's usually imprinted into your memory once you've read it 3 or 4 times. And when you see the options, you're able to understand.
Wonderful. So there's no need for memorization as long as you realize what is of importance, right?
Exactly.
What are the key words there?
Yeah.
And if, like you said, with revision, it's going to stay longer in your head. And with options given, it makes things easier for you.
It makes things easier for you because you can't memorize names of Russians. They are really difficult. And that's one area I struggled with a lot personally.
Names is something that you struggle with.
Yeah, because they are really complicated if they are not Indian or say American at the most, because you're used to those names, Russian names, Saudi Arabic names. They're really confusing for me.
Sure. Your cousin says hi.
Hi back at you.
Okay, great. In case any more questions you guys want to ask Divisha, she's all yours. You can post them in the chat here and I'll convey it to her. Yes, he's the precious cousin that Divisha was talking about.
Yeah, totally.
A lot of congratulations in order.
Thank you so much, everyone.
How did you deal with critical reasoning?
So critical reasoning is one of the biggest difficulties in terms of what you feel is right might not be right for the examiner. And I faced that a lot of times. So, finally what I had to do was use 2 methods. Your answer cannot be too extreme. Like if there's like a cannot, is not, or all of them are, basically extremes, they are usually not your answers. That was one method I used. And the other one was that, if it's something that has not been explicitly stated in the passage, you cannot assume it to be right. And that really helped me. But other than that, it's just practice with critical reasoning as well.
Wonderful. A student wants to know what your score was in CLAT.
Yeah, it's okay. I had an All India rank of 506 in CLAT, and my score was 90.5.
Right. Wonderful. I'm sure you converted in a few of the top NLUs also there.
Yeah,
Definitely preferred AILET NLU Delhi over.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. Wonderful. Overall, CLAT or AILET, which was easier for you?
Till the time the results came, I thought CLAT, but now AILET.
Now AILET. Now that AILET's giving you this.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful. When it comes to GK, static is still a part of GK, not as much as it used to be, right? How would you remember landmark judgments, LGK especially, or articles that you were doing, or just static GK in general? How did the learning happen for that?
Law scoop sessions. I didn't refer to anything else but the law scoop sessions on YouTube because it's a vast area that, LGK, there's so much to study, but it's made much more easier when someone is, picking out the important things for you. And other than that, a lot of the landmark judgments keep popping up in your mocks, in your lectures and in past papers. So it makes it easier.
Oh, that's great. Students, in case you do have further questions for her, definitely put them out. Was there, or did you feel there was any much of a difference between when it came to your AILET and CLAT syllabus wise?
No, it's the same.
It's just the same, right? There's not much
all
of a
the
difference.
Exams.
All entrance exams except for your LSAT, definitely other exams remain.
Yeah, even for LSAT, I feel the subjects that they question us on, they are the same for CLAT and AILET and SLAT as well.
Only the subjects change for LSAT.
Yeah, exactly.
Apart from that, your syllabus remains the same.
Yes.
Did you purchase any books for additional practices or additional practices? Did you need any additional practice apart from your IMS results?
No, not really. Even for static GK, we were provided with a Pearson's book, which was more than enough. It's pretty exhaustive.
There are a few students who want to know how to go about planning your day. How much time to dedicate for CLAT?
It totally depends on what stage of preparation you are in. So I'm just going to refer to like 11th grade was when CLAT used to get, say, maximum 1.5 hours of my entire day on weekdays. And on weekends, I used to attend classes. The first half of 12th, that increased to around 2 hours because GK started playing a big part because I needed to know that year's current affairs. And the second half of 12th was only CLAT because I knew I wasn't going to have board exams and stuff. So it was just CLAT preparation. And I used to spend, say, 4.5 hours every day, including taking a mock. So that would be 2 hours of mock and 2.5 hours of analyzing it, going through the newspaper and stuff like that.
Okay. Of course. Like you said, strategy is going to be different for everyone. How many hours you put in is not something someone could do it in a way lesser time, someone could do it in a more.
Exactly.
Time. What matters, guys, in the end is the quantity. Your quality over your quantity. Right? Your quality over your quantity. You could be in front of a book for 10 hours, but if you're reading 10 pages, those 10 hours are a waste.
True.
Right? So as long as you're putting in the right amount of efforts, regardless of how much time you put in, right? That is what is going to matter in the longer run, right? Okay. Any last words that you would share? Last piece of advice that you would want to give the students?
Yeah, the hard work really plays a big difference, and it's all worth it in the end. Like, you will feel like, oh, I'm missing out on this party. Oh, my friends are going out. Oh, I wish I could go there. But in the end, it really just comes down to, a great college and a great campus life. And also, if you don't get into an NLU, it's okay. I was at a stage between CLAT and AILET where I didn't know what I was going to do. I might even have to go to a private college, which was completely fine because at the end of the day, they are all well-ranked colleges. They're all good colleges. And it's what you make out of yourself, to be honest.
It's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world.
Wonderful. As long as putting in your 100%, right? And then rest you leave it up to the fate.
Yeah, sure.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, for your advice, your words that you've been helping the students out right now. This definitely acts as a motivation when they hear it from you, someone who's just appeared for an AILET examination and secured a seat. They resonate better with you coming it from you, right? So thank you so much for your time, for your inputs, right? Our students are really grateful for this.
And all the best to all the students who are taking the 2022 or 2023 AILET exam. Right. Thank you, Miss.
Thank you so much, Divisha. Really proud of you. You may God bless you with all the success in life.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.